I'm going to move away from the mantis content for this video because my ants are coming out of hibernation soon, so I wanted to get a Formicarium built for them to live in. I've got several colonies at the moment. I don't know which one we're going to put in there, but I just thought it'd be cool to make a little video showing you the process of how I'm building that and what my plans are for these going forwards. So for this Formicarium, my plan is as follows. What I want to do is have a base. Don't know what that's going to be made of yet. Possibly glass, possibly wood. Standing on top of that, I want two panels to be sat quite close together, maybe an inch apart, something like that, which will then allow the ants to burrow down through the dirt, and then we can see all their various caverns. And then sat on top of this, I want to affix a small outworld up here, just for them to forage and hunt for their food, and it will give me some access as well from the top with what I've got planned. Now the issue is with affixing all this together is I need a way for them to be able to access their nest, which will hopefully be in here, from their outworld up here. So what I'm thinking is to attempt to cut a hole out of this, which will be the bottom of the outworld, and then they can access the nest through that. But I don't know if that's going to work, because it does involve me cutting this hole and then hoping that I can knock the hole out with a clean finish. But I have a feeling what's going to happen when I try and cut the hole out is the glass is just going to crack. But we don't know unless we try, so let's find out. Good so far. Excellent. So now we can take the masking tape off. I'll be so happy if this actually works out. Now I'm going to tap along the score lines that we've marked just to generate some micro cracks, which will help pop this out. It might even pop out while I do this. If it does, I'll be really happy. Let's see. So now I'm going to have to try and pop it out manually. Please come out. Come on. Didn't work, clearly, so on to plan B. But for that, we'll need to make the two upstanding panels and attach them first, so let's get that done. Okay, I've cut these two slithers out here, which we're going to attach to the edge, like so. And then we'll have another glass panel on the top, and that will make up the nesting area for the Formicarium. So let's attach these two sides with silicone and just make sure that there's no gaps and that looks nice and secure. Alright, I've left this overnight, so it should be nice and dry and solid now. What I've also done is took the pane that is going to sit on top of here, like so, and I've attached 4 little magnets in each corner. The reason being is when this is all put together and that is sat on there and the ants are all nesting inside, I can have an attachment on the front just to keep that area dark, and then kind of take it off as and when I want to see what's going on. With the front piece attached, we've now got this nice square, which in time we'll be able to fit onto a base like this. The next step is going to be working out how to attach this to the top, seeing as the idea of cutting a hole out of the middle just failed miserably. So my plan is split this glass here and here, so there's a hole in the middle like so. But then the problem is I don't want to just attach it like that, because these bits would just be really flimsy then if it's just held in this bond by silicone. So I'll add some reinforcement strips along both sides, which might work really well actually, because then this will just kind of slot in. Hopefully that'll work. Let's try it and find out. All right, everything's dried, and I'm glad to say it all fits together perfectly. I'm quite proud of this. This is probably where I drop it and smash everything. So this is going to sit on here like so, and then this kind of slots over the top of it like so. So I will eventually silicone those joins just to make sure it's all nice and neat and no gaps anywhere for any little anties to escape. The next part is we need to build something up here for the outworld. Alright, so we've got our nesting chamber and now we have our completed outworld, and I've just finished our lid, which is the most tricky part because we need to have some sort of form of ventilation in there, but at the same time we need to make sure there's no gaps for the guys to escape, because a millimetre gap is probably enough for them to escape and start foraging around the room, which we obviously don't want to happen. The way that I've hopefully solved that issue is I got some really fine steel mesh, which was like 100 nanometers or something, so they shouldn't be able to squeeze through this. From what I've read, they shouldn't be able to bite through it, hopefully. And I've split some glass and attached it together and then reinforced it with these pieces of glass as well. So hopefully there's no way for them to escape between this mesh layer here and the glass itself. The next issue we're going to have, however, is when this lid sits on top, like so, we will have some hinges, so it should just open up, but there is bound to be some slight gaps around the edge where the lid meets the outworld. So what my proposed solution is it's not going to look perfect. It might be a little bit messy, but there's not much I can do about that. But I want to put some silicone along the top edge here, let it cure for a little while, and then place the lid on top with a grease-proof barrier in between. So what that should do is flatten out the contours of the silicone to line up with the lid of the tank, so when it's then closing there's no gaps at all, hopefully. That's the theory. Let's give it a try and see if it works out. Alright, so we've got our outworld nice and complete now. Just give you a quick overview of what we've done. The silicone idea that I was doing didn't really work out. There was too many gaps, like really tiny little gaps, but still it'll be enough for an ant to get out of. So what I eventually ended up doing was just applying silicone along this edge, closing it, letting the silicone dry, and then getting a scalpel and running it in between the lid and the base. And that seems to have worked a lot better. It's really flush now. There's no gaps for any ants to get out of. And then for the lid mechanism, just added some hinges and a hinge on the front, which has a small magnet attached to the front of it, and then there's another magnet on here, so then when I close it, it locks nice and tight. I just need to get something to pop on the front here just to make it a bit easier to open is all. So with that completed, we now just need to attach it to our nesting area. Alrighty, finally it is completed. Just to give you a little tour, we've attached the nesting area to the bottom of the outworld. Got a bit of a base here just to keep it balanced. Checked this all straight and everything, and I'm pretty pleased with how it's turned out, to be honest, because I was a bit worried that I'd get something wrong. There's a lot of points of failure on this, and it all seems to be straight. All seems to be working nicely. Seems fairly stable. I think at some point I might attach something to the bottom though. I don't really trust that thin bit of glass as a stabilizer, so yeah, but we can do that at a later stage. The next thing that I'd like to do is get our substrate in the top of the outworld and in the nesting area. What we'll do next is fill this bottom bit with my standard mix to start with, which is the potting soil, the cocoa fibre, sphagnum moss, a bit of sand in there, just as a general nesting substrate. But at the top I want to do something a bit different and maybe have sort of different sections of different types of substrate, just to see what the ants do, whether they prefer a certain type of substrate, whether they move things around a little. That might be quite cool to see. Don't know if we'll go too crazy with any decorations in the top, but I have got some grass seed, so I thought I might just put that in there and just kind of see what happens. Might give them a bit of a natural feel to their new living quarters. It's a bit wet, this substrate. Well, it's not wet, it's just a bit moist. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. And I'm not too sure whether to pack it down or kind of leave it a bit looser for the ants, just to make it easier for them to move. It probably doesn't make any difference, but maybe we'll give them the best of both worlds, and one side we'll kind of compact it a little more and leave the other side a bit more loose once we get all this in. That's filling up nicely there. I'm really pleased with this, how this has come out. I mean, time will tell if it's actually appropriate for them, because you never know, I might put them in and they might just nest in the top bit in the outworld. But hey, unless we try it, we won't know. And if we keep them in here long term, I'm sure eventually they will spread out a bit more and want some more living space, so I'm sure they'll take advantage of any spots they can. Like I think I explained, I do eventually want to have something that I can fit on the front of this, and I would imagine the darkness might encourage them to have a bit of a preference in using this space rather than the top outworld, which is obviously going to have a lot more light present. Kind of thought if this was successful that I'd make a few more, but to be honest, it's quite a big job. This was not so much to put together, it just takes a long time because you have to keep waiting between each stage for things to dry and for things to cure. That's kind of the thing that took the most time, to be honest. I'm glad it's turned out all right because it makes it worthwhile. So next, what I'm going to do is add some little barriers in here just to create a little short-term divide whilst we add the other elements. So first up, I'm going to add some sand. I'm going to try and fill these up to about halfway on each of these different sections, because obviously we want some space at the top just for anything to grow if it wants to, or if we want to add a little bit of decor. And next we'll add some decomposing wood. Alrighty, so the next part should make them feel a bit more at home. This is actually soil that I've pulled from outside in the garden. Confident it's not got anything nasty in it because it's from our garden and I don't use any chemicals in the garden or anything like that. But that'll be filled with little stones and probably some seeds that might pop up. So we'll see, but yeah, I think they'll probably have this as a preference just because I can see a little woodlouse in there as well. Good luck, because you're probably going to be somebody's dinner at some point. I'll have to keep your head down, but we're not going to put too much in there. What I might do, just because I do think they're going to prefer that, we'll mix some of that in with the final section, because that was just going to be our standard substrate mix. So we will mix some of that in as well. Okay, just to finish it off, I'm going to add some of these grass seeds. I'm not a gardener, I have absolutely no idea how much seeds to put in there. Maybe that's enough. Our woodlouse friend is panicking. You know what else I'm going to do? Because I got this for cheap online. It's just some little pack of seeds. Apparently it's mixed bumblebee friendly flowers. I mean, I'm not expecting anything to actually flower. I just want some greenery in there is all. Well, you can see that on the camera, just random different types of seeds. Well, we'll put some in and see if they do anything. A little weevil. I do love a weevil, so we'll put him outside because I don't want to subject him to getting ripped apart by ants. Off you go. So let's remove these dividers and hopefully it will stay reasonably separated for now. I mean, it's not going too long term, but well, that's that. That is our Formicarium finished. I hope you learned something. You can try it yourself if you fancy it. Like I said, it's not the easiest project I've done, but I'm pleased with how it turned out. I think it should be effective, hopefully. Time will tell. If you want to see me add in the colony once we decide which one it's going to be, stick around because the next video I plan to take my ants out of hibernation, have a look, see how they're getting on, and then one of the more successful colonies will pop in here and let them have a new home. Hopefully we can observe them over time and give you updates in the future. But thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. As always, stay safe and I'll see you on the next one.